big hello to everyone out there. Actually, a big hello to all the experimenters out there. From me, Mazen, your fellow experimenter. Welcome to the Maximal Life. These days, it seems like everyone we know has advice, a theory, a postulation they need to share with everyone they know. We have all this information right at our fingertips. We are all super connected. Our culture is one of sharing what we know. But do we know a thing by merely searching on the internet? Wouldn't it be so easy if that was all we need to do to get the truth? There is a scientist in each of us. Deep within, we all have a curious mind, one that needs to learn, to know, to experiment. Unfortunately, it is buried deep, too deep within us. So deep that we've almost forgotten it exists. Consider for a moment how hesitant, we could say how scared an average person is of stepping outside of the comfort zone. How reluctant they are to experiment, to do. And this one is perhaps the scariest, to change. You can see why our culture of information sharing often overlooks self-experimentation. People offer much in the way of opinion, a theory, even belief, but only a few maximal achievers actually experiment with those theories and beliefs, testing them out and applying them to their life. Today, I want to share with you the one ability that separates the average achievers from the maximal achievers. The willingness, the courage to actually experiment with life, to use what works and discard what doesn't. History's maximal achievers have all been scientists or experimenters. It's probably a cliche to say that our failures are all stepping stones to success. But like so many cliches, this one is rooted in wisdom and truth. Think of some of the culture-defining inventions, discoveries, and achievements in your lifetime. Now, look at the trajectory of these inventors' lives. You can see that they suffered some stunning setbacks along the way. You see, these maximal achievers succeeded not in spite of their setbacks, but as a direct result of their setbacks. And here is where the quintessential difference kicks in. To maximal achievers, these setbacks weren't failures at all. They were all groundbreaking experiments. They revealed what worked and what did not work. Revealed what was before unseen, what could not be known without reaping the benefits of failing. In the right mindset, setbacks always produce more mission-critical data. The experiment and prove mindset help those great scientists work by elimination, each experiment bringing them one step closer to the big solution. Legend has it that Thomas Edison, one of the greatest and most prolific inventors known to humanity, tried and failed to create the light bulb about 1,000 times. In other words, he got it right only the 1,001st time. That is a crushing number of failures, but only if you look at it that way. Another individual who went on to script a life of epic success was Abraham Lincoln. He had the dubious distinction of leaving for a war as a captain and returned as a private, a demotion of staggering, unheard of proportions. But he did not let that pull him down. Let's look at Einstein, often spoken of as the most intelligent human being. Albert Einstein did not speak until very late in his development. He had something of a problem learning to read. His teacher had declared him mentally deficient at one point. But did he let that stop him? Probably the most beloved contemporary author, J.K. Rowling, is another success story that began with the abject failure. She was a young single mother, recently divorced and living on welfare. She was studying and simultaneously writing a novel. She's one of the richest women in the world right now, a hugely popular author and a savvy businesswoman. Another name synonymous with staggering success following dismal failure is that of James Dyson, the man who created the path-breaking, hugely successful bagless vacuum cleaner, went through over 5,000 failed prototypes before he got it right. The mindset of these culture-defining individuals are fundamentally driven by their inner scientist. If any of these maximal achievers I spoke of had given up and thrown in the towel each time they lost a round, so to speak, they would not have lived as maximal achievers. I would not be speaking about them today. We would not be benefiting from the results of their continued experiments. These guys did not just expound, theorize, and they did not just talk. They did. They were not afraid to experiment with themselves and their ideas. They were not hesitant about testing their hypotheses. They had the courage to live purposely, constantly endeavoring to learn, to enrich their lives further. They avoided falling prey to the classic victim mentality, a philosophy that is self-defeating to say the very least. A victim mentality traps a mind within a vicious cycle of disappointments, blame, self-criticism, and a litany of complaints. When the mindset is hijacked and limited like this, it is impossible to recognize opportunity for what it is. From this mindset, it is only possible to see setback as some sort of a sign to quit. But far from being victims in their own failings, these people displayed some extraordinary characteristics and behavior. Let's get into the how of it, right here, right now, so we can charge up our own inner scientist. What did they do differently? They retained their curiosity, always wanting to know the new, see the unseen, create the non-existent, elucidate the unsaid. They refused to be caged behind the walls of what's already common knowledge. They were persistent. They never let their circumstances defeat them. Every setback suffered was merely a lesson that taught them how not to do something, which by the process of elimination took them closer and closer and closer to success. They were optimists. Setbacks may have dismayed them, but never dismantled them. They were optimists. They never stopped believing in themselves and believing in the value of their experiments, trying different paths, different motions, permutations, combinations, tools, ingredients. What else did they do differently? They were discerning. They tested it, tried it, and then retried it. They adjusted, molded, tweaked it till it worked. They retained what was determined useful and discarded what was not. As one of my own personal heroes, Bruce Lee, said, absorb what's useful, discard what's not, and add what is uniquely your own. They charted their own paths. Truly successful people don't follow trends. They create trends. They do this by breaking the conventions and rules that society is tacitly governed by. The experimental mindset is the hallmark of maximal achievers. So what is the experimental mindset? It is a power stance perspective, the one that believes experiments never fail. Look, when I say experiments never fail, what I mean is that you refuse to see setback as a setback. When you look at each setback from a power stance perspective, each experiment yields a result. Each experiment serves your growth, your gain, your insight, your expertise. Each and every experiment powers your maximal life. I know it can seem difficult to recover when you encounter a setback, a seeming roadblock with no way ahead. I get it. Things may seem dark and pretty hopeless at times, and it may seem as though your world is crashing down around you. Every single act of greatness was born through overcoming a fear, a challenge, a struggle. This is a pressure we all experience. But when it seems hopeless, your inner scientist gets charged up. You feel this feeling. It's equal parts passion and rebellion. You may have heard the phrase, just you watch, I will show them. That's your inner scientist calling out to you. Hey coach, put me in the game. We all have this inner scientist eager to play. You have an inner scientist in you, and I bet yours can't wait to help you break through. Maybe your setback has taken the form of a partnership that ended, a project that failed, or a contract that you lost. Imagine if you trained yourself to unleash your inner scientist on your most fear-inducing problem. You would no longer stew in the failure perspective of a setback. You would step in to the power stance perspective. Your inner scientist would be free to see the moment for what it is, an exciting project, stepping stone to your success, to your very own eureka moment. A priceless life lesson learned that makes you wiser, smarter, and gives you an edge over your competition. So, are you ready to call on that scientist inside you to take charge? Put on your Life Lab goggles because we're ready to go. Here are the steps your inner scientist was made to take. Clarify your goals, the level of progress you've made so far. Diagnose your success so far. Then, set measurable goals and create a timeline that corresponds to incremental gains that you will make. Identify the daily motions that will help you progress and reach the goals and sub-goals. Then, take stock of your resources and collect the tools you need to experiment with. Once you make that all-important start, it is time to conduct mini experiments to fine-tune your progress. Each stage of your experiment, you will learn from your mistakes. You will identify motions to change, things to tweak, and do differently next time. Habits to discontinue, and rituals that will add value. Get Bruce Lee on your experiments. Absorb what's useful, discard what's not, and add what's uniquely your own. Keep applying what you learn, and through it all, refuse to become a victim to circumstances or to the manipulations of people. When you are the master of your own destiny, you own the success that inevitably comes your way. When you employ the scientist in you, you are committing yourself to constant growth and development. Each experiment that you conduct in life's lab brings you closer to achieving your goals. As the champion of individualism, writer and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "All of life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better." Ultimately, it is all about changing your mindset. See setbacks as experiments that yielded valuable knowledge. Each setback gives you your edge, your expertise, your maximal you. Thank you all for joining me today. Remember, life experiments are all about you going forward, overcoming setbacks, living a fuller, more meaningful life. Life experiments are all there to serve you, to help you step into your own unique definition of the maximal life. If you like what you have seen and heard, please subscribe.